the Blake Lively story. This is so interesting to me. So as the audience knows, there's this death match going on between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, with whom she made the movie It Ends With Us, a film about domestic abuse. She tried to claim that he sexually harassed her on set. He hired my lawyer, Brian Friedman, from my dispute with NBC, and fought back, like, fiercely, saying, I never harassed her a single day. She's a psychopath, and she's made this stuff up. She's making this stuff up because she wanted to wrest control of the movie away from me. And I let her to a large extent, but not to the extent she wanted. And ultimately, she did get control of the movie and then tried to ruin my life. So that's kind of where it is. Cross suits. He sued the New York Times for defamation, too, because they wrote a very sympathetic article about her and what a victim she is. Well, one of her allegations was that, well, let me show you the scene. We cut it. Part of it. It's where her character gives birth in the movie It Ends With Us. Now, let's just watch it first. Listening audience, you can see her belly. She's got the legs spread. He comes in. He's holding her hand. She's acting like a pregnant lady delivering a baby. Except she's smiling, which isn't realistic.
I was going to say she's pretty happy.
He's touching her hand.
That's not how my wife acted.
I was going to say Marianne did not look that way, Megyn. Marianne did not look that way.
It was my fault. I was getting hit.
Okay, I was called stupid. I was called a very stupid man.
But then I got to perform surgery by cutting the umbilical cord. Like, I've never gone to med school.
Oh, there we go. He's cutting the umbilical cord. Okay, but for about 2 seconds, there's a doctor down, what comedian was it? Johnny Bench, like Johnny Bench in between the legs, getting ready to catch the baby. Was it Bill Cosby? Who was it who did that bit? Anyway, so her complaint alleges that was one of the moments in which she got harassed because she says she was, here, I'll read you from the lawsuit. On the day of shooting that scene, Mr. Baldoni and his business partner, Mr. Heath, suddenly pressured Ms. Lively to simulate full nudity, despite no mention of nudity for this scene in the script, in her contract, or previous discussions. Claimed that Baldoni insisted that women do give birth naked. I mean, do they? Other than like a water birth? Like, what woman is like, yeah, take it off, take it all off, woo! No, that's not what happens in there. You got your gown, and the gown, they hike it up, but you got a little something on. Okay, anyway. He insisted that women give birth naked, to which she disagreed, but felt forced into a compromise that she would be naked from below the chest. When the birth scene was filmed, the set was chaotic, crowded, she says, and utterly lacking in standard industry protections for filming nude scenes. Baldoni failed to close the set, allowing non-essential crew to pass through, while Miss Lively was partially nude from below the chest down, with her legs spread wide in stirrups, and only a small piece of fabric covering her genitalia. Ms. Lively was not provided with anything with which to cover herself between takes until after she had made multiple requests. She became even more alarmed when Baldoni introduced his, quote, best friend to play the role of the OBGYN, claimed typically a small role of this nature would be filled by a local actor. She felt the selection of Baldoni's friend for this intimate role, in which the actor's face and hands were in close proximity to her nearly nude genitals for a birth scene, was invasive and humiliating. However, guys, as you know, because you prepared for today, that actor, Adam Monshine, has now spoken out, and he's got a bone to pick with Blake Lively's description of what happened on that set. Arthur, you want to take it from there?
Well, first of all, the actor, he's the one who's like the Shakespearean trained actor. I mean, he basically says that's not what happened, and it was very professional. The scene was very professional, and like nothing was untoward, and it was a big nothing burger, and they're making this.
And she was clothed. He says she was wearing clothing. He said her costume included a full hospital gown, black shorts, and torso-covering prosthetic to make her appear pregnant, in addition to whatever personal garments she chose.
Yeah, so it's not too good when you have the guy who was there saying this is not the truth. And I think a big point, though, he's a legitimate actor. I forget his name, when it begins with an M, who's saying this. Like, he's a legitimate guy. So who doesn't seem to have a horse race?
She is making it sound like, Arthur was the director of this scene and he got his buddy Lawrence Taylor to come by to play the OBGYN. Hey, Blake Lively's going to be naked. Get in here, LT. This is not what happened. That's a great example. This guy has his Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Acting from the University of Maryland. He's got an MFA, Master's of Fine Arts in Acting from UCLA. He worked for several Shakespeare companies, toured nationally with the Tony Award-winning acting company, attended the British American Dramatic Academy's Midsummer in Oxford program as a full scholarship winner. He's been on numerous shows on Netflix, on ABC, on TNT. Once again, Mark, the problem is her allegations in her complaint do not seem to match up with not just what Justin's saying, but with what independent people who have no axe to grind with Blake Lively are saying.
That's the first problem, proving this. And there's always two sides. And so I don't know that she'll be able to prove what's being alleged. But the second thing is there's a difference between what she's alleging, like intentional sexual harassment, and, well, things that in retrospect should have been done differently on the movie set that would have made her more comfortable. That's what all this sounds like, right? And the third thing is jurors always look, and it's legally proper, towards the person bringing the suit and saying, well, what else could you have done? She doesn't seem like a very passive, soft flower. She would have spoken up and saying, I will not do this. I don't want all these people on the set. I don't want this. I don't want that. So they're going to be looking at her as well.
That's the thing. So she makes it sound in this complaint, Arthur, like she is this powerless, shrinking violet. This one I circled in particular. She was not provided with anything with which to cover herself between takes until after she had made multiple requests. Does anyone really believe Blake Lively, who had 100 times the star power and regular power of anybody on that set, was sitting there naked going, somebody please get me a cover, multiple requests, get me a cover, and everyone just blew her off like, screw her.
Of course not. It does not sound reasonable at all. Also, she says, it doesn't say in my contract anything about nudity, but my understanding is it did say there was a childbirth scene, and there is some degree of nudity in any kind of childbirth. Right. They're just going to do it from the neck up.
They don't come out of your nose.
No, not that I know of.
It's pretty clear. Well, look, I'm looking at that birth scene. I can't see what's there. And that's obvious. The filmmakers don't want you to see if she's wearing a pair of black shorts. It kind of suspends disbelief on the giving birth claims. But in any event, I want to go on just for another minute about what Adam Monshine is alleging. He played Dr. Dunbar in that scene. He says, my experience working with her is very different than the one she described in her lawsuit. Indeed, I was surprised to read her description of the scene. He goes on about the costume, as I read before. Then he further alleged that Lively never complained or expressed discomfort at any point because nothing unusual or improper occurred. It was extremely professional. And of course, he was there for all of it because he was playing the OB right between the legs. He called Lively's insinuations about his acting qualifications offensive, as his bona fides are easily searchable online, and says, by the way, I was actually a local hire. My wife and I are from New York, and we spend significant time there, and apparently that's where the scene was shot, and said if I'm called to testify in this case, I will answer truthfully. And he says, in particular, I will note that Ms. Lively was not, quote, nearly nude in the scene we shot together. So here's the takeaway. You tell me what you think. This is how Brian Friedman and Justin Baldoni are going to win this case. You don't have to take all 20 of her allegations. Pick your top 4, right? And show. You don't have to take Baldoni's word on the birth scene. Listen to Adam Monshine, who is telling you he was there. And by the way, here are the raw film outtakes from the whole thing, where you can see she is wearing black shorts. She does not have just a thin piece of fabric separating her genitalia from everybody there. And let's sit and listen to her alleged multiple requests for a cover, which everyone blew her. I bet it's not going to be there. So how powerful a piece of evidence is this for an effective trial lawyer, guys?
Huge, Megyn. Arthur and I, who are artists in creating reasonable doubt, will tell the jury that if there's reasonable doubt created as to one allegation, while we might not be able to disprove the others, it shows what's going on here, that the person was caught in a lie. They're willing to manufacture allegations, at least as it relates to some things. And so you can disregard her entire testimony. So yes, I think this is colossal.
It's not even, Mark and I are criminal guys, so it's not even reasonable doubt under these circumstances. It's even a lesser standard. But, you also, Megyn, have to think about the lawyering here. When she's going to make this claim, you have to tell your client, okay, I heard what you said. There's going to be there were 12 other people in the room, or according to you, even more. And they're going to know, they're going to be witnesses as well. They're going to support the fact that you didn't have, you were naked, right? No one's going to say you had shorts on, right? And they're all going to support the fact that you asked to be covered up and nobody helped you, correct? You got to, now maybe the lawyer did, and she's like, oh, absolutely, I didn't have anything on it.
Maybe the film will show that. In her defense, maybe the film will show that, and this guy will be proven wrong. Keep going.
The bottom line is, when you're on the plaintiff's side, before you make these claims, you better do some homework and some of your own investigation work, because as the lawyer, your reputation is on the line. You're the one who signs that complaint and says, I'm submitting these papers. And it sounds like from this witness, who sounds like a very credible guy here, that, that she either lied to her lawyer or her lawyer didn't do her homework.
It sounds like somebody the jury's going to like. That's my gut instinct. And they're not going to like that she smeared him as just a best friend who was trying to get a look at her vag. Tariff wars, stubborn inflation. No wonder gold has been routinely hitting all-time highs. In volatile markets like the one we have now, don't sit on the sidelines with your head in the sand. You can take control and safeguard your savings now. This is why so many Americans today are turning to Birch Gold Group. They've helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into one in physical gold. Is it time for you to hedge against economic instability with gold? To learn how to own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account, text MK to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Again, text MK to the number 989898. A-plus rating with a Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews. Birch Gold has helped so many. It took us decades to get into the tangled mess we're in right now. How long to get out of it? Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.